Breaking from St James Park. Major news is rocking Newcastle United this week, and the latest updates are causing serious buzz around Tyneside. From stalled contract negotiations and frustrated stars to bold comments and rising locker room tension, the Magpies are once again at the center of Premier League drama. Eddie Howe's reaction to all this could shape Newcastle's entire season. Sources close to the club are revealing new twists, players are speaking out, and fans are demanding answers after the recent setback. Still, it's not all negative. There's renewed hope, signs of leadership, and a powerful reminder of what makes this squad so resilient. So buckle up, Toon fans, because this story is moving fast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for all the latest updates from St James Park, where the headlines never stop. Fabian Schär has broken his silence about his Newcastle United future just as new sporting director Ross Wilson prepares to begin another wave of contract talks. The Swiss centre-back, who joined from Deportivo La Coruña for £3 million back in 2018, has been one of the club's most consistent defenders over the last 6 years. Yet, as he enters the final year of his deal, questions have been raised about whether he will be part of Eddie Howe's long-term plans beyond next summer. Supporters have seen him move from a guaranteed starter to more of a squad player, and many are wondering what comes next for the 33-year-old defender. The arrival of Malik Thiaw from AC Milan has changed the picture completely. The young German has made an instant impact, forming a rock-solid partnership with Sven Botman and Dan Burn. As a result, Schär has slipped down the defensive order, but that doesn't mean he has lost his value. Howe knows that having experienced players around the group is vital for depth and leadership. Schär's calmness, technical ability, and understanding of the club's expectations have made him one of the manager's most trusted senior professionals inside the dressing room. Speaking to the Chronicle, Schär made it clear that he feels very much at home on Tyneside. "I've said before that I feel at home here," he admitted. "You never know what can happen in football, but if the chance to stay longer comes, I'd be open to it." That honesty struck a chord with fans. They know he's not chasing money or glamour. He simply loves playing for Newcastle United. His comments came just days before Wilson begins talks with several key players, including Tino Livramento and Botman, over new long-term deals to secure the club's defensive future. Ross Wilson's arrival marks an important turning point in Newcastle's long-term structure. He is expected to address contracts, recruitment, and succession planning to make sure the club continues to grow sustainably. While younger players like Thiaw and Botman represent the future, figures such as Schär are the heartbeat of the present. They know the culture Howe has built, they understand what it means to represent Newcastle, and they pass those values down to the next generation. Keeping someone like Schär is about much more than what happens on the pitch. Schär's consistency over the years cannot be overstated. Under both Rafa Benitez and Eddie Howe, he has proven himself to be a reliable performer, capable of stepping into midfield, breaking lines with his passing, and organizing those around him. Even during difficult spells, when injuries and suspensions forced constant rotation, Schär's composure made him invaluable. He's the type of player every successful side needs, a quiet professional who sets standards in training, offers tactical understanding, and rarely complains about his role within the team. This season hasn't been the smoothest for him. A combination of minor injuries and a concussion early in the campaign disrupted his rhythm, giving Thiaw a chance to claim a permanent starting spot. Despite that, Schär has handled the situation with dignity. Instead of expressing frustration, he's focused on recovery, staying sharp, and helping his teammates whenever possible. That attitude hasn't gone unnoticed. Howe publicly praised his professionalism, saying that having players who put the team first is the key to building a winning culture at Newcastle United. The big question now is whether Schär sees himself as part of the next chapter at St James Park. With 1 year left on his deal, he'll soon have to decide between staying as a rotational defender or seeking regular football elsewhere. For Newcastle, it's a delicate balance. They need to refresh the squad but also maintain a core of experience. Letting too many senior players go too soon can damage dressing room harmony. For that reason, Howe and Wilson are likely to offer Schär a short extension, perhaps on reduced terms, to keep his influence within the club. Supporters, meanwhile, remain divided. Some believe it's time to move on and make room for younger legs, while others insist that loyalty and experience should still count for something. Few players have represented the black and white shirt with such consistency since the club's resurgence. Scar's elegance on the ball, knack for scoring from distance, and ability to handle pressure have earned him respect across the fan base. Even when he's not starting, he's a reminder of how far Newcastle have come since the dark days before the takeover. Another factor to consider is squad depth across multiple competitions. Newcastle are battling on several fronts this season: the Premier League, Champions League, and domestic cups. Injuries to key defenders have already tested Howe's resources, and that's where a player like Scar becomes essential. Having a fourth-choice centre-back of his quality is a luxury most teams can't afford. When rotation is required, he can step in seamlessly, bringing composure and experience to the back line. That reliability could be crucial in the months ahead. Ultimately, Fabian Scar's future might not depend solely on form or fitness, but on trust, the trust he's earned from Howe and the belief the club has in his professionalism. Newcastle are building something bigger than any single player, but that project still needs reliable foundations. Scar has been one of them since 2018, weathering changes, managers, and new faces while always maintaining his standards. Whether he signs on for another year or not, his influence on the current squad is undeniable. He may no longer be the headline name, but his story at St. James Park still has another page to turn. Alan Shearer has never been one to hold back his thoughts about Newcastle United, and his latest comments have made waves across Tyneside. This time, the club legend turned his attention to winger Anthony Gordon, saying that despite shining in Europe, he must step up in the Premier League. Gordon, signed for £45 million, has been excellent in the Champions League, but his domestic form tells a completely different story. The contrast between his performances in two competitions has left fans puzzled and frustrated in equal measure. During his appearance on the Rest is Football podcast, Shearer highlighted a worrying statistic. Gordon hasn't scored or assisted in the Premier League for 19 matches, a shocking run for a player of his price and potential. He's been brilliant in Europe, said Shearer, but he's got to start doing it in the league. The statement summed up what many Newcastle supporters have been thinking for weeks. The 23-year-old has all the tools, pace, energy, and confidence, but he needs to deliver where it matters most, the domestic stage. This inconsistency has become a broader reflection of Newcastle's season. The Magpies, who dazzle under the floodlights of Europe, seem to vanish in the Premier League. In continental games, they play with freedom, precision, and flair, while in domestic fixtures they appear tense and predictable. Gordon embodies that split personality more than anyone. When facing European opponents, he looks fearless, taking on defenders and pressing with intent. Yet, in the Premier League, his spark fades, and his decision-making becomes hesitant and safe. For a player who arrived with such high expectations, the pressure is mounting. Gordon's work rate and attitude cannot be questioned. He runs tirelessly and always looks to create, but football is a results business. Shearer's words hit hard because they come from someone who knows exactly what it takes to succeed at St. James Park. The former England captain isn't criticizing to destroy confidence. He's doing it to demand more from a player capable of greatness. Newcastle fans respect that honesty, even when it stings. Part of Gordon's problem may lie in his mental approach. He's admitted in past interviews that he spends a lot of time reading books about psychology and performance improvement. That curiosity is admirable, but Shearer believes what he needs now isn't theory, it's instinct. The Premier League requires quick decisions, aggression, and ruthlessness. Sometimes, thinking too much can be a problem. Gordon may need to rediscover the spontaneity that made him so dangerous at Everton and early in his Newcastle career. Another factor could be fatigue. Howe has relied heavily on Gordon this season due to injuries to Harvey Barnes and Miguel Almiron. Playing twice a week in intense conditions takes its toll, especially for wide players who rely on explosive pace. Shearer noted that Gordon looks a yard slower in league games than he does in Europe, perhaps due to the physical demand of English football. Rest might help, but with fixtures piling up, Howe can't afford to leave him out for long. It's a difficult balancing act. Despite the criticism, nobody doubts Gordon's talent or commitment. In the Champions League, he has been sensational. 4 goals and an assist so far, playing with swagger and confidence. Those performances prove the quality is there. The question is whether he can reproduce it consistently against Premier League defenses who now know his tricks. The opposition has adapted, forcing him into tighter spaces and double-marking him whenever he receives the ball. To overcome that, Gordon must evolve his game, finding new ways to make an impact. Eddie Howe has shown faith in him, continuing to start Gordon even when the goals have dried up. That loyalty speaks volumes about the manager's trust. Howe sees a player who fits his high-energy system perfectly, pressing from the front, tracking back, and linking play. But even Howe has hinted that Gordon needs to add end product to his effort. It's not enough to work hard. He must produce measurable results. Newcastle's struggles in the league this season underline the importance of having their key forwards firing again. For Gordon personally, this is a defining moment. Every young attacker faces a phase when confidence dips and form wavers. The best players learn from it and come back stronger. Shearer's challenge should be seen as motivation rather than criticism. He's urging Gordon to become the player everyone believes he can be. A match winner who changes games in any competition. Newcastle fans would love nothing more than to see one of their brightest stars silence his doubters with goals and assists in the Premier League. If Gordon responds the right way, this could be the turning point in his career. His pace, determination, and mentality make him the type of player Howe loves to build around. With encouragement from teammates and belief in his own ability, there's no reason he can't rediscover that spark domestically. As Shearer said, it's all about consistency. Newcastle need their wingers firing, and Gordon has the chance to prove he can deliver on both stages, Europe and home soil. The ball, quite literally, is in his court now. Even Shearer's harshest words often come from a place of deep care for the club. He's been where Gordon is, a young attacker under pressure to perform for a demanding fan base. The difference is that Shearer thrived on that expectation, using it as fuel to deliver week after week. He wants Gordon to embrace that same mentality, to see the pressure as a privilege rather than a burden. The greatest players in Newcastle's history have always been defined by how they respond to adversity, and Gordon now faces that exact test. If he can channel that determination and rediscover his confidence, the rewards could be massive. Newcastle's attack has the potential to become one of the most exciting in England once again, with Gordon as a key figure in that revival. His pace, technique, and ability to take on defenders make him a nightmare for opposition fullbacks. What fans want to see now is that killer instinct, the drive to turn chances into goals. The message from Shearer is clear. The potential is there, but it's time to prove it on the Premier League stage. Eddie Howe is reportedly growing increasingly frustrated with new signing Anthony Elanga, whose start to life at Newcastle United hasn't gone according to plan. The Swedish winger arrived from Nottingham Forest for a fee believed to be between £50 and £60 million, but he has struggled to make the expected impact. According to Football Insider, the club's chaotic summer transfer window left several positions unresolved, and Elanga's adaptation has become a symbol of that disarray. The question now is whether Howe still believes in him as a long-term solution for the attack. Mick Brown, former chief scout at Manchester United and Sunderland, shed light on Howe's concerns in an interview with Football Insider. Howe will definitely be worried about Elanga, he said. When you pay that kind of money, you expect an immediate impact. Brown added that Elanga's inconsistency and inability to hold a starting place have left both the manager and fans disappointed. He's one of those players who looks electric one week and invisible the next, Brown continued. That's not what Newcastle need at this level. It's a fair point. When Newcastle decided to invest heavily in Elanga, they believed they were buying a player ready to explode, a fast, direct winger who could thrive under Howe's attacking philosophy. Instead, they've seen flashes of quality mixed with long stretches of anonymity. The contrast has frustrated supporters, who were hoping Elanga would provide the spark lost when key attackers missed time through injury. Now, as the season progresses, pressure is mounting on the young Swede to prove he was worth the massive investment. Part of the problem may be tactical. At Nottingham Forest, Elanga had the freedom to counterattack, using open space to exploit defenses. At Newcastle, however, The team often dominates possession, meaning he must operate in tighter spaces and show more creativity. That adjustment has been difficult. He's a player who thrives on chaos, and Newcastle's more structured, high-pressing system doesn't always suit his natural style. Howe has tried him on both wings, but nothing has consistently clicked yet. Then there's the issue of confidence. Elanga arrived full of excitement and determination, eager to prove himself after limited opportunities at Manchester United. But as the goals and assists failed to come, self-belief started to waver. When that happens to a forward, hesitation creeps in, the half-second delay that turns a shot into a blocked chance. Mick Brown warned that such situations can spiral quickly if not handled properly. Once the fans start losing patience, he said, it spreads fast. You need to protect the player. Howe is known for his man-management skills and ability to rebuild confidence, but even he has admitted that patience is wearing thin. After being dropped in favor of Jacob Murphy for the West Ham match, Elanga watched from the bench as his replacement impressed. That decision was a clear message from Howe. Performance must come before potential. Elanga will need to respond in training, showing that he deserves another chance. Newcastle's depth means competition is fierce, and underperforming players quickly find themselves sidelined. Financially, the signing of Elanga also adds pressure. Spending £50 million on a player who doesn't improve the starting 11 is a risk for a club operating within financial fair play limits. Every pound matters when chasing Champions League ambitions. If Elanga can't adapt soon, Newcastle might have to reconsider their strategy next summer. Brown's warning about spending big on players who don't raise the team's level echoes what many supporters have been saying privately for weeks. That said, it's still early days. Elanga is only 23, and Howe has shown his willing to be patient with players who eventually deliver. Many forget that others, like Joelinton and Miguel Almiron, also endured rocky starts before becoming vital contributors under Howe. If Elanga can replicate their transformation, this slow beginning might one day be seen as just a small bump in his Newcastle journey. He has the physical tools. What he needs now is confidence and consistency. For now, the key will be how he responds. Newcastle's demanding fan base appreciates effort and honesty above all else. If Elanga keeps working, tracking back, and showing fight, supporters will stay behind him. But if the inconsistency continues, the criticism will only grow louder. Howe's challenge is to find the balance between tough love and encouragement, helping his winger rediscover his spark without damaging his belief. The next few months will be crucial. Newcastle face a congested fixture list with important matches in multiple competitions. Elanga will get opportunities, and he must seize them. A few strong performances could completely change the narrative, turning frustration into optimism. The talent is there. The question is whether he can unlock it at the right time. For both Howe and Elanga, the clock is ticking, and the pressure at St James Park has never been higher. Eddie Howe looked visibly frustrated at the London Stadium last Sunday as Newcastle United fell to a 3-1 defeat against West Ham. It wasn't just the scoreline that concerned him. It was the performance, disjointed, lacking energy, and strangely flat despite early dominance. The manager had restored his strongest starting 11 after heavy rotation in the cup, hoping for a positive reaction. Instead, his side scored early, then faded badly. For Howe, it was another reminder of how unforgiving the Premier League can be, even for one of England's most improved teams. The loss has sparked the usual noise online, with a small but vocal section of supporters suggesting that Howe's time might be up. That reaction, though predictable, has been met with widespread ridicule from the majority of fans and pundits alike. Those who've followed Newcastle's journey over the last 4 years know exactly what Howe has achieved. He took over when relegation looked inevitable, rebuilt confidence, and led the club to Champions League football, a transformation almost unimaginable under the previous regime. Critics point to Newcastle's inconsistent league form this season. 3 wins, 3 draws, and 4 defeats. But context matters. The team has been decimated by injuries, endured a chaotic pre-season, and juggled 4 competitions at once. Even so, the Magpies have reached the quarter-finals of the Carabao Cup for the 4th consecutive year and remain alive in Europe, having beaten some of the continent's top sides. That perspective is often lost when emotions run high after a bad result. Howe himself has never hidden from responsibility, but insists his project remains on course. Eddie Howe's biggest strength has always been his calmness under pressure. While others panic, he focuses on solutions. During training, players describe him as meticulous, analyzing every detail, adjusting tactics, and communicating with clarity. Those qualities have made him one of the Premier League's most respected coaches. To suggest replacing him after a few poor results is absurd. Newcastle's rise from relegation candidates to European contenders didn't happen by luck. It happened because Howe built a system, a culture, and a belief that the club had long forgotten. Some of the frustration stems from heightened expectations. After last season's success, supporters naturally crave more, but that growth also brings impatience. As one fan wrote on social media, "We've come so far under Howe that now finishing sixth feels disappointing. That says everything." It's true. Standards have risen dramatically. The irony is that Howe himself created those expectations through his own excellence. He raised the bar, and now he's being measured against it. That's the price of progress in modern football. The noise surrounding his position isn't new. Every time Newcastle lose, certain online voices call for drastic change, often for attention or clicks. But inside St. James Park, the atmosphere tells a very different story. The crowd remains firmly behind their manager. During the last home match, chants of Eddie Howe echoed around the stadium, drowning out any negativity. The bond between manager and supporters remains strong because they know he's one of them, humble, honest, and fully committed to the club's long-term vision. Looking at his record, the numbers speak for themselves. Since his appointment in November 2021, Howe has transformed Newcastle into one of the league's top 4 teams based on points per game. He's done so while improving players individually, turning Joe Linton into a midfield powerhouse, reviving Almiron, and helping youth talents emerge. Few managers in England can match that combination of tactical intelligence and emotional connection. Those calling for his dismissal ignore just how far the club has come in such a short time. It's natural to question tactics, substitutions, or team selections. That's part of football. But turning against Howe after a difficult month would be short-sighted. Even the best managers endure rough patches. What matters is their ability to respond. And Howe has proven time and again that he can. Last season, when form dipped around Christmas, he steadied the ship and led Newcastle to a top 4 finish. The same resilience and adaptability will be needed now as he aims to steer the team back into rhythm. This is still a long-term project, not a quick fix. Howe has repeatedly said his goal is to build a sustainable, competitive Newcastle, not one that relies on short bursts of success. That means patience, smart recruitment, and faith in the process. With Ross Wilson now overseeing football operations, the structure is stronger than ever. Together, they can continue the steady climb that has already brought pride back to Tyneside. Changing managers mid-project would undo years of progress and send the wrong message entirely. Ultimately, Eddie Howe deserves both trust and respect. The results may fluctuate, but the identity, unity, and ambition he's restored are priceless. For the first time in decades, Newcastle United feel alive again, connected to their fans, feared by opponents, and full of belief. That transformation didn't happen by accident. It happened because of Eddie Howe. To even question his future after all he's achieved is madness. The message from the Toon Army is clear. In Eddie we trust, now and always. What a dramatic week at St. James Park. From Fabian Scar's heartfelt words about his future, to Anthony Gordon's challenge laid down by Alan Shearer, to Eddie Howe's frustration with Elanga, and finally, the wave of criticism aimed unfairly at Howe himself, Newcastle United never failed to keep us talking. Yet through all the chaos, one thing remains certain. The spirit of this club is alive and fighting stronger than ever. Scar's loyalty and professionalism show what it means to represent the black and white shirt. Gordon's inconsistency is frustrating, yes, but could his next Premier League goal silence the critics once and for all? Elanga's struggles might just be the spark that forces him to evolve, but will Howe's patience hold? And as for Howe himself, can anyone really deny that he's still the man to lead Newcastle forward? Let us know your thoughts below. Toon fans, you've been brilliant through thick and thin. Your passion, your noise, and your belief in this team are what make Newcastle United truly special. Whatever happens next, one thing's for sure, we'll face it together. So hit that like button, share your opinion in the comments, and never stop supporting our lads. Wait, before you go, check out this breaking video from Newcastle.